Greg Doucette is undoubtedly the most controversial figure in the fitness industry today. As he started his channel giving out meaningful fitness tips and advice, he has devolved into online drama and calls out the most popular influencers on the planet through his Natty or Not series. He has been insulted, accused of racism, and so much worse, with each of these influencers having felt the brunt of Greg's videos and his fanbase. However, despite how he is perceived, most of these people genuinely deserve to be called out by Coach Greg, and there are none more worthy than Chef Rush, the White House chef who embarrassed himself in a Men's Health interview and cried racism when he was exposed. Chef Rush went viral around 2018 when this image of him cooking circulated online and his massive biceps drew the attention of everyone looking. You may be left wondering though how he achieved this now famous physique. Well, you wouldn't be left wondering for long, as he did an interview with Men's Health, which is notorious for poor fitness information, and this interview would be ridiculous to say the least. He starts off by claiming he does 2,222 push-ups every single day and eats anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 calories a day, waking up at 3 AM to achieve all of this and more. Of course, the amount of steroids he was taking was not included in the interview, and the famed chef indeed claims natural. Obviously, you may question this claim, and so did Coach Greg, who accused the chef of not being totally honest.
So I wondered, is he going to talk about what he actually takes to get a physique like this? It's certainly not from eating 6,000 to 10,000 calories a day and doing 2,222 push-ups.
Chef Rush could have left it there and ignored the accusations, but he decided that he was going to stand up for himself, and it could not have backfired in a more ridiculous way after Chef Rush accused Greg of being racist. In an attempt to save face and make an excuse for why Greg would attack his Men's Health interview, he made an Instagram post complaining about it and signed it off with, "This just reminded me of the colour I am." He was obviously trying to call Greg out for being racist and criticizing his program, which Greg clearly wasn't. Greg's response to this video will be the first time ever you've seen him genuinely infuriated by allegations against him.
Of the color I am. How freaking dare you? How dare you call me racist? How dare you act like I'm racist? Everyone in the world's a circle to me. How dare you act like this? Bring in a race card. I treat everyone the same. I call the bullshit on the freaking internet. You are lying. You know you are. You're eating 1,200 grams of protein, 2,222 push-ups every day. And are you in fact natural? Think about it. Are you? You're the only one that knows. How do you sleep at night?
And if you thought this was bad, it was about to get a lot worse, as Greg's fanatic fans were about to invade the chef's DMs, and it wasn't going to be pretty. The chef revealed that after Greg made his video, he started receiving death threats, racism, and more off the back of it. He revealed these messages as part of an apology video, which was mainly full of excuses, and seemingly looked to hold Greg accountable for the awful messages that he'd been sent. Chef Rush's apology itself was pretty much non-existent and totally embarrassing, which has led many people to label him a narcissist after he refused to take accountability for his slander. And the next pair of influencers to have beef with Greg would refuse to take accountability for their own physiques and blamed Greg for not coaching them well enough to compete in their next bodybuilding show. The Tren Twins, unsurprisingly, are a pair of twins who take huge amounts of tren. Mike and Christian have grown massive followings from not just their incredible lifts and great physiques, but their antics in their vlogs. The pair are only 22 years old and have already went through caffeine overdoses, teared muscles, and of course taking copious amounts of gear. It may surprise you to learn then that Greg actually took a chance on both of these genetic anomalies and tried to coach them through their first bodybuilding show, but it didn't end well and led to a massive fallout between the group. It began in February 2023 though, with Greg posting his announcement to his YouTube in a video titled "Coaching the Tren Twins' First Bodybuilding Show," and Greg was full of praise for both of them.
And so these guys, their ambition to be IFBB pros and incredibly strong powerlifters, something I know a lot about. And they're only 21 years of age. And have you seen their genetics, their work ethic? And so of course I'm coaching them. We're gonna see just how far we can take them.
Greg repeatedly praised their work ethic, and it really seemed like outside of their insane genetics, this was the main reason he wanted to coach them, as he believed they could truly become world record holders. However, this honeymoon period didn't last too long. Just a few months after this original video was uploaded, Greg uploaded videos critiquing the twins' lifestyle and was shocked to see them binging on food at a buffet when they should have been sticking to a strict diet plan given to them by the coach.
And so this meal, it's on Young LA's dime, and he's got a bunch of social media influencers. This is not the place to go if you're someone on a diet. The Tren Twins are dieting for a bodybuilding competition, and everything they want, any food, dessert, it's all free. Remember, no buffet is safe when you're a bodybuilder on a diet.
He's uploaded multiple videos about how the Tren Twins need to start listening to his advice, otherwise they aren't going to be ready for the contest as they aren't lean enough, and eventually this would turn out to be correct. As a result of their poor diet, they pulled out of their upcoming bodybuilding show because they weren't lean enough, and ironically didn't have the work ethic to get to a low enough body fat percentage. This is where the true beef between the two camps begins, as the Tren Twins went on a podcast to slate Greg's coaching, stating that it wasn't a true coaching plan and that he just sent them a cookbook to get in shape with.
This is a plan prescribed by someone.
It wasn't even a plan, bro. It wasn't a plan. It was pick 3 meals out of this cookbook.
Greg saw it a different way though and spoke to Bradley Martin to defend his coaching, explaining that the Tren Twins were using fake gear and were not trying as hard as they should have been.
Well, one of the videos made it look like I was the one selling them gear that was bad, because they weren't getting real stuff, right? And they're not getting really good progress. I'm like, how is your testosterone levels lower than mine? Like, this doesn't make sense, you know. And obviously I'm not going to talk about what they've done or didn't take, but they weren't going to become successful, and I couldn't help them, and I tried my best.
This podcast appearance though wouldn't be the last of it, and it was about to heat up after one of the twins overdosed on caffeine. After Chris shared an image of him on 700 milligrams of caffeine, he then shared a subsequent video of himself in a hospital bed with the caption of "Killed by caffeine."
This is an anabolic ending. Imagine that. Killed by caffeine.
Obviously, Greg responded and called him out on the utter stupidity of taking that much caffeine, stating that he couldn't believe he would risk his life in such a way.
You can't abuse supplements and act like it's never going to bite you in the ass. And so when you allegedly take 700 milligrams of caffeine and 2 upper deckies, what do you think's going to happen? Yeah, I get it. We're the Tren Twins. We got to do crazy things. But remember, it comes down to your health. Is it worth it?
Now, it didn't really seem like Greg did much wrong in this video and mainly pointed out the stupidity of their actions. However, the video itself was titled "It's Just Mikey Now," with Greg seemingly clickbaiting the situation and making it seem like Chris had genuinely died. This seemed to enrage the Tren Twins, and Greg revealed just how angry they were, claiming they'd declared war on him. They claim that Greg is spreading misinformation about the pair, and when Greg tried to reach out to them, they responded with a very aggressive message. "I didn't read what you said. Please never text me again. I could care less about any advice you give me. If I died tomorrow, the last thing I will think of is I wish I listened to Greg Doucette." And if you thought this was bad, it was about to get a lot worse for the twins, as one of them was about to go through a life-changing injury and is probably wishing he did listen to Coach Greg.
3, 2, 1. Come on. Oh, fuck. No. Fuck.
Mike had suffered a pec tear while attempting a bench press of around 580 pounds and eventually had to go through surgery to fix the issue. Obviously, this is a stressful situation and could have genuinely affected his mental and physical health. But of course, Greg wasn't going to miss making a video on it, and pretty much the same day it happened, uploaded a video titled "I Told You So."
Odds of getting injured are exponential. And I hate to be the one that says this, but I have been warning the Tren Twins, warning everyone, that it's it's very risky to go for 1 rep maxes in the gym, especially when using performance-enhancing drugs.
Now, Greg has clickbaited one of the twins dying and dived on the opportunity for ad revenue on the other tearing his pec. And you may think that Greg was in the wrong, but the next beef he was involved in actually had a lot of people supporting him and calling the other party arrogant and insulting, which was none other than Dr. Mike Israetel. I've covered Greg's beef with Mike quite a bit on my channel, so I won't go too deep into the history of it, but for those who aren't aware, they basically had some disagreements on training philosophies back in the day. They were going back and forth about how hard people should be training at the gym, with Dr. Mike advocating for a science-based approach, while Greg, in his classic YouTube persona, screamed in his videos about just pushing yourself harder and harder, and spoke about his thoughts on Mike's training method in a very passionate way.
2 to 3 reps shy of failure is close to failure? Come on, no it's not. 2 to 3 reps shy of failure is a warm-up set for this boy. I don't train like a pussy.
Obviously, with how erratic Greg seems to be on videos, when Mike and Greg finally got together on a podcast through a mutual friend, Mike seemed to go into the podcast on the defensive. However, this move ended up making Mike look extremely arrogant, as instead of going in for a true discussion, he later admitted he wanted to intellectually destroy Greg, which completely backfired. Throughout the podcast, Greg dropped his YouTube persona and went into the interview with his natural personality, but Mike didn't drop his guard and seemed to be rude and standoffish throughout, even yawning at some points when Greg was talking to him, and commenters made their feelings known. And even though Mike is usually one of the most loved fitness influencers, he attracted a lot of hate in the comment section. Mike played the I know it all card. He seems to think he's more qualified and didn't want to listen to what Greg had to say. He came across as really condescending and quite frankly annoying. Respect to Greg for keeping his cool. Now this would be bad enough, but this all happened in 2020 and Mike is still upset at this podcast appearance as he let his true feelings on Greg be known in 2024.
With that intensity, I had a debate back in the day on Omar Isuf's channel with Greg Doucette, who is a two-faced lying sociopath sucker. Print that. And he talked mad shit in his videos with his fake voice about how stupid I was and how wrong I was about volume or whatever the it was about. And I was like, oh, this guy wants a shot at the title. So when we got face to face in a debate, I mirrored that energy. And he turned off his parrot voice and went straight into nice guy agreeable mode. And almost all the comments were like, oh my God, this Mike guy's a f***ing asshole. And this Greg guy just came to the conversation to try to learn. No, he didn't. He's trying to learn shit. He's like just totally two-faced.
Since this interview Mike gave, Greg has just started flat out abusing Mike in what seems like every single video he uploads, laughing at everything from his physique to him failing to achieve his pro card. But my personal favourite was Greg's rant about Mike and his boyfriend after he tasted Greg's protein bar.
Let's give it a shot.
And so did he just say, or did he say, I think I heard a, And so that sounded like a pleasant feeling in his mouth. Perhaps he was, in fact, gregging his Doucette earlier in the day. Now remember, Mike Israetel is the type of guy that pulls out of his boyfriend and comes all over his stomach. And so Mike clearly getting a lot of pleasure from having something of Coach Greg inside of his mouth. Mepsagram liked that joke. And she is in fact a throat goat.
After Mike called Greg out for saying his protein bar didn't look like the rapper, Greg went full brain rot mode and embarked on yet another rant in the same video.
He's actually giving it a great rating, but because it's Mike Israetel, he has to shit on Coach Greg. Well, not literally, but figuratively. Hey, I'm not into that. Remember, some people have weird fetishes, perhaps Mike Israetel does, but we don't do that right here. What my fans do is they greg their Doucettes harder than last time until they GO2 max, or perhaps Turk on their stomachs.
Thank you, Greg.
And so you're welcome, Mike. Anytime you need some advice on how to get a proper tan to win your IPP Pro card, you know where to find me.
If you're interested in learning more in-depth details about their beef together, click the link in the top of the description for the full thing. Even though Mike and Greg have a beef which goes way back, there's a relatively new influencer who's been feeling the heat from Greg, and that is Wes Watson, who Greg has been clowning on pretty much every day, and you really can't blame him, as the fake alpha male continues to embarrass himself. Wes Watson is an ex-convict who currently makes a living siphoning money from insecure men, promising to coach them in their personal growth. His videos are incredibly embarrassing though, as he is so easy to troll and constantly responds to his haters, which gives us some quality videos.
Yeah, that's the real scenario. That's real close to your life, stupid. Huh. Who vote Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk? They want to be all up in your personal lives. Why? Because theirs suck. Bad. So they're like, hey, is this, but what is that? Is that a new girl? Ah! Hey, fucking Rich is playing.
The hate online has gotten so bad that it's not only him responding to the haters, but his parents too, messaging people online threatening to sue them if they don't stop talking bad about their special boy.
Parents are DMing people, threatening to sue them for making fun of Wes. You know, the big bad alpha male, Wes Watson, needs his mom and all his minions to defend him because he keeps getting gadooshed by his haters.
The guy used the word gadooshing.
Embarrassing content such as this made him the prime target for Coach Greg, and one incident in particular put Wes firmly in his sights. Fellow YouTuber John Bravo exposed Wes after he shared a video where Wes backs down from a fight inside of a gym, which he instigated to a guy who is much smaller than Wes.
Come on, we know you're tough, let's go. What's that?
And so after challenging him to a fight, he asked to see his legs. Let me see your legs. Sorry, this guy is not straight. Does that not sound a little bit less than straight?
To make matters worse, not only did Wes back down from the fight, but he actually told the manager of the gym that this guy was harassing him and had him kicked out. This is in stark contrast to how he acts to someone who he knows wouldn't fight him on a stage, with Greg pointing this out perfectly.
Are you proud of who the f you are?
Why
well,
look,
are you proud? If you look in the mirror, would you guys say this motherfucker's proud of who the f he is?
Notice how he was so quick to attack Andrew Wilson with words on a stage with several witnesses. He knows Andrew Wilson isn't going to fight him. He knows he's not going to attack him. And so he's quick to run his mouth because he knows nothing could happen. But when it's in the real world, with somebody who has the courage to stand up to him, he's quick to back down. And not only does he back down, he blocks the individual or tattletales on him. What is he, in kindergarten?
And it gets even more pathetic, as Wes Watson not only backs down from the guy he's shouting at on stage, but he again goes to sit back down in his chair, with Greg making a hilarious point.
This is not what men look like.
Let's let him what do they look like? Point.
Shit.
What do they look like? Bald prisoners? They look like?
This is the problem in society, is people like this think they can talk to someone like me like that. They really think they can.
They think they can because they can, and they do, and they did. He literally spoke to you like that, and you did nothing. You spoke a lot, yapped a lot, bragged about yourself a lot, but you did nothing. And so what we all see is you're all words, quick to yap to run your mouth.
And it's only downhill from here for Wes, as Greg has continuously made jokes in his videos about Wes being gay and talking about his situationship with other men. And as it turns out, this may truly be the case, as Wes revealed he was partying with a guy who has just been in a lot of trouble, and Greg was sure to ask the question we were all wondering.
Down here at Pura Vida by my pad, run into the man right here.
And so he shows up to a restaurant at the same place as P. Diddy and brags about it on social media. Look at me. I happen to bump into somebody who's famous. Yeah, he's infamous. Infamous for doing what? And so did you also happen to have your mail-shaped toys as well as your oil handy? And so great job, Wes Watson. You showed up and ran into, hopefully you didn't run right into it, with P. Diddy.
I mean, crazy coincidence? Man, that's weird.
Is it a crazy coincidence or did he follow him? Are you searching out to get into his mansion?
John Bravo also exposed something seriously shocking about Wes Watson, with Greg giving a hilarious reaction to the revelations, and I can guarantee you will not have seen this one coming.
And you know what she told me? She told me he loved to get pegged.
Now listen, what you like to do in the privacy of your own home, well, that's on you. You do what you want. He likes to do that with his wife. He enjoys it. He learned how to do this, to take this while in prison. There's nothing wrong with that.
In prison, you are somebody's bitch.
And so he can dress up with his fancy, pretty clothes, with his pretty little purse, and walk around town looking like a man. And in the privacy of his own home, if he wants to get pegged, well, by all means. But you don't then go and make fun of other people. When you start throwing stones at other people, expect the stones to get thrown back.
Outside of Wes's private life and the things he likes to get up to inside the bedroom, Greg did get serious about how Wes treats people, including those who are minimum wage workers and working to tidy up around his home. Take a look at Wes's reaction to this guy blowing leaves out from his house, working an honest job and trying to make a living, but because the noise interrupts Wes's video, he goes completely berserk.
2024. They have electric cars that go thousands of miles a they drive across country on a battery. They're faster than some gas-powered cars. But we still don't have electric leaf blowers. We still need to hear this fucking noise when people have to walk around your house blowing leaves because they don't have any better solution. It's psychotic. Who the likes this noise around their house twice a week to pay for it? Watch. Here you go. Here you go. Hey! 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 Get out of the backyard. I'm trying to do something. Too loud. Way too loud. Go. Well, there the you go. 2 minutes of the video wasted because these motherfuckers just don't get that it's so annoying to sit there and there's no possible way that needed to be done at that level. This is Miami and the shit's everywhere. If you're not working in an area with no cap that fulfills your purpose on this life to a T, what the are you doing?
This clip alone shows truly what he thinks about people who he deems to be below him. And even though Greg likes to brag about money, you'll be hard pressed to find a clip of him acting better than someone because of it, and put Wes in his place regarding this attitude.
And so he's losing his shit. He can't control himself. Now, let's say it was imperative that he didn't hear that noise. He's recording a video on call with a famous person around the world, and they've scheduled this time, and he needs them to be quiet. And so could he not go outside and say, "Excuse me, sir, I know that you are paid to do this job"?
The most embarrassing part of this all is that despite Wes getting around 5,000 views per video, he still has men who watch every single one and try to suck up to him, despite watching him scam and bully his way to the position he's in today. As this video is posted, Greg is still trolling Wes, and he's just uploaded Big Boy, Cali Muscle, Wes Watson situationship. Even though Wes Watson is one of the fakest influencers on the planet right now, the next to feel the wrath of Greg gets props for showing everything as it is, which is about the only good thing you could say about him, as he's one of the biggest degenerates on the internet right now. Shane Stoffer, better known as Togi, had one of the fastest rises on TikTok we've ever seen, and very nearly had a just as fast downfall after he has gambled millions, lost pretty much all of it, and nearly had his life taken from him by his own stupid decisions. All of these issues compounded to make him the perfect target for a Greg Doucette video, or in this case, a whole series of them, including declaring war on him. Greg has compared Togi to a train wreck, as you can see it falling apart and burning, but because of your morbid curiosity, you can't stop watching. The first of his issues with Togi is the constant glorification of steroids, and although this isn't the main issue, which is something which is way more problematic, it is potentially the most damaging, as Togi got his come up from encouraging people to take steroids and downplayed their effects. Togi used to post TikTok edits of him training and taking gear, clearly glorifying them and showing how great they are. However, when he later came to regret these TikToks, he just played them off as being sarcastic, which doesn't seem to be the truth, as he's often bragged about the views he got and has still left the videos up on his channel. Coach Greg saw through this too and called out Togi for this embarrassing excuse.
Post about it on the internet and people watch it, they're like, oh, like you're influencing these kids. But I'm not like here to influence people.
Yeah, I'm not here to influence kids, you know, I just influence kids.
Well, I've a couple times I've said take steroids, but that was more of like a sarcastic.
And so when I said, you know, take steroids, I'm being sarcastic.
And I'm being sarcastic.
When I say that steroids make you feel 10 times better than when you're not on steroids, it's pure sarcasm. I'm not saying to do anything. I don't influence people. I just do shit. And people copy me. That's what influencing is. An influencer is a person who is regarded as an expert within their particular field that also has a steady following. Well, I guess he's an expert at sniffing creatine, at losing all his money at gambling, and at using steroids in a healthy fashion.
And the second point Greg made in his rant about Togi has the ability to be the most damaging, and Greg will know this all too well, as he too has admitted to have suffered with a gambling addiction in the past. Togi has, according to him, wagered over $38 million on crypto gambling, and his main game, Plinko Balls, has saw the bulk of that money, as he spends countless hours watching the balls drop, mostly losing him plenty of money.
So the most you've ever lost, you said, was $250,000?
Oh yeah,
one
one
night?
night. It was all on a live stream, and that was at that time. That was all my money. That was my life savings at the time. So that was.
He seems pretty calm in the podcast, but when you watch him gamble live, you can see the addictive personality and his erratic nature rearing its ugly head.
Oh no. Oh my god, that's it, people. Oh no.
Greg is no stranger to a gambling addiction, and before he completely destroys Togi, he made sure to let him know that he does in fact know how Togi feels when he is gambling, potentially to show he is relating to him.
It's a very slippery slope. Once you start gambling, you get addicted. Now, Togi, you may not know this about Coach Greg, but I once was also addicted to gambling. Now, the form of gambling I chose was Texas Hold'em, poker. I would play online poker, sometimes play 14 to 16 hours a day.
This seems to be where the sympathy ends for Togi and the teardown begins, and like the title of this video suggests, Greg declares war on Togi. Greg is reacting to Togi's reaction to a previous video Greg made on him. I know, it's not confusing at all, but it's worth a watch for how brutal Greg is. For starters, Togi claims he makes more money than Greg, which Greg makes quick work of putting down.
I'm 22 years older than you, and I make more goddamn money than you.
Togi thinks he makes more money than Coach Greg! Togi! Come on! You make more money than Coach Greg! I mean, I'm told don't brag about how much money you make, but I make more money than Togi! Togi, really? Togi! Togi! Oh my god, the stories I could tell right now. I mean, the engagement ring that's sitting in my that I wasted more money than you've made in your life. Togi.
He even laughed at the suggestion that Togi gets more girls than Greg. Despite Togi being taller and younger, Greg was very honest about the fact that this couldn't be true, and shared some inside information with his current girlfriend.
You know what? Greg's half my body fat. How about you tell the bitches about what your body fat is? First date, you're sitting at the date with a girl. Yeah, I'm 8% body fat. You know how much you're not gonna get fucking laid out of that bullshit? 0%.
Mepstagram does. I actually had this conversation, and she was looking at a Coach Greg video, and it was in the past, and I was 5% body fat. I was a week out from a pro bodybuilding competition, and she was literally getting wet watching. I'm telling you guys, I'm not gonna lie, I keep it real.
In a final swing of his sword, he put Togi in his place and shared to his audience what he truly is, with a brutal putdown, and shared some home truths.
But I also identify as a school teacher. I used to be a school teacher. I used to be an IFBB judge. I was an IFBB pro bodybuilder, and so I've done a lot of everything. You're a 22-year-old degenerate gambler who sniffs creatine. I said it. Is the truth heard?
Togi is one of the influencers who Greg has been the most vocal about what he is doing wrong, but the next influencer felt the heat just as much, and he deleted his video after he felt Coach Greg breathing down his neck. You'd be forgiven for not knowing who Isaiah Miranda is, as despite having 3.5 million followers, he barely gets any views on his longer videos and seems to just make thirst trap short form content. But it seems like there's a reason for this, as Greg single-handedly destroyed his entire career and exposed him to millions. Before he was exposed by Greg though, it seemed like Isaiah was a fan of him after he bought his $100 cookbook and made videos creating the recipes from it, giving what Isaiah's true thoughts about about Coach Greg were.
This is gonna be a quick cooking video. If you guys don't know who Greg Doucette is, he's just like some fitness influencer that's just big in the fitness industry that I follow and that I get honestly a lot of my knowledge from. So if you haven't checked him out, check him out. He has like a cooking book with all these different recipes, low calorie dense foods, which I always preach.
This feeling probably wouldn't last too long though, as just less than a year later, his career would be totally destroyed by his former idol. Isaiah is obviously in great shape, but given he's just 21, questions started to be raised about his natural status by those in his comment sections and online. Obviously, he wanted to dispel these rumours and so visited a clinic, owned by Bradley Martin of all people, to get his test results checked. The results of his test levels were totally shocking, and Isaiah seems to think that they proved he was natural, as they showed his test levels were an astonishingly low 21 nanograms per deciliter, when the average level is around 700. Isaiah thought that these suppressed levels were so low that he couldn't possibly be on gear, when in reality, it showed the opposite. The video in which he did this is now unfortunately deleted for obvious reasons. However, it gave Greg enough time to record a reaction to it, but couldn't show the clips at the same time. You may expect Greg to speak with his over-the-top typical personality, but it seemed like he dropped this act and expressed genuine concern for Isaiah, as these test levels were worrying to say the least.
I mean, when I had my test levels and they were in the 40s, I wasn't really that concerned because I knew I had abused PEDs for years. I knew I'd abused them. So when the doctor said, hey, your test levels are really suppressed, I was like, well, I did that to myself. This kid, he seems oblivious to the fact that he's in a mess right now. It's a nightmare. This is horrible. I've never in my life seen test levels this low, even from people who abuse PEDs. Ever. I've coached a number of people who were born genetically deficient in testosterone levels. Never this low. All needed HRT and felt way better with HRT.
However, Greg may have regretted being so nice to Isaiah, as in a response to Greg's video, he was pretty insulting towards the coach, and instead of taking Greg's advice on board, he went on the defensive.
And I know what I've done, what I haven't done, and I know that they can't speak my truth, and I'm true to myself, but then it made me realize that these people like Greg Doucette, Kenny KO, More Plates, More Dates, they literally make their living off of most of their videos about just tearing other people down or just trying to make other people look like idiots or calling people out. And I didn't want to keep feeding into that and keep giving them what they want. They're literally making money. They're literally getting all these views, these AdSense, these Google ads, everything, right? They're literally making their living and their views and all this other stuff, building their channels off of tearing other people down. So in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna keep giving them what they want and leave that up there.
Isaiah surprisingly kept up his claim that he's 100% natural and has never taken anything in his life, despite the awful blood work. You could see it coming, I could see it coming, and presumably Isaiah could see it coming, as Greg came back with an explosive response to claims that he was just trying to tear Isaiah down.
Most of their videos about just tearing other people down or just trying to make other people look like idiots or calling people out.
So let me diffuse down. The real reason I took it down is because they proved I'm a fake natty. Yeah, they proved I'm a fake natty, so I'm gonna diffuse it and say, oh, they're bad people because they tear other people down. I not only made the video to help him, but to help the subs and young people that follow him to not make the same mistakes as he did. This guy has done a number of videos with my name in it, making my recipes, hoping I would make a video about him. Probably thought I'd make a natty or not on him and say he was natural. I tell you the truth, I tell you what I think. I'm not just gonna tell you what somebody wants me to say.
Comments in Greg's response were just as brutal, with the top comment being, Isaiah single-handedly ruined his whole career by doing this, and another pointed out just how angry Greg was, saying, Greg got so heated in this video that he unlocked 12 new forehead veins. And the next bodybuilder also felt the heat of Greg's laser eyes, and has been the subject of countless videos in Natty or Not, which is none other than Mike O'Hearn. Mike O'Hearn and Greg Doucette seem to have a long-running Cold War together, with them sharing insults at each other throughout the years online. Greg alone has made over 25 videos of Mike, with the first of these being over 5 years ago, which was part of Greg's infamous Natty or Not series. This Natty or Not wasn't exactly needed though, as everyone knows he's clearly on a lot of steroids. He's one of the original fitness influencers, going all the way back into the 1990s, and his list of achievements are seriously impressive. He is a 4-time Mr. Universe winner, record-breaking powerlifter, professional wrestler, male model, and most recently the subject of this mega viral meme. Despite this myriad of achievements and looking like a Greek god in his 50s, he continues to claim natural, which has tarnished his name somewhat in the fitness industry. And this is the reason Greg has targeted him so much in his videos. And although his first video was relatively short, the hours of content he's uploaded after this would be the complete opposite.
All right, so let's start with Mike O'Hearn. Of course he's not natural. Does anyone still think he's natural? Is there even one person on earth that thinks this guy's natural? I mean, he's less natural than The Rock. What are we guys even talking about? Why are people asking me, is Mike O'Hearn natural?
Greg continued to post about Mike talking about his training and fitness advice, all while getting a lot of views off the back of it. However, much like the others in our video, Mike was going to clap back and have his say. Although he doesn't name drop Greg specifically, many people believe he is talking about him in this video, as Mike O'Tren unloads on Greg and his thoughts on using his name for views.
All of you guys today, go unsubscribe, delete and block all those guys that have never accomplished anything, never done anything. I don't care if they got their pro card, if they never won anything as a pro. Again, get rid of it. They won an amateur show.
Although Greg's accomplishments may be seen as lesser in comparison to Mike's, it's still incredibly harsh to say he hasn't accomplished anything. Although it's not actually clear whether Mike was genuinely insulting Greg, it would soon become clear enough. After Mike dropped this video, the videos from Greg started coming in thick and fast, including titles such as Mike O'Hearn 13 minutes of pure nonsense and he's a narcissist and must be stopped. Mike was at his breaking point with these videos though and getting sick of Greg's continuous call-outs and decided to lash back again, this time with a much more personal insult to the coach.
For guys like The Hobbit and Kenny KO and those other kind of guys, The Hobbit's the great guy. And you guys are over here with these monkeys, these tool bags that talk about stuff like Dingleberry or Hobbit.
Mike calling Greg a monkey hobbit seemed to anger Greg's comment section somewhat, and they compared him to a budget Ken doll and said, Mike the type of dude who never left his high school mentality. And it wasn't just the comment section who were annoyed, as Greg made his feelings known too, and showed how a member of his team even disagreed with Mike but was scared to say anything.
And so then the camera zooms in on his partner, and look at the face, he's like, just because I'm your partner, that doesn't mean that his words reflect mine. I don't believe that his partner thinks this at all. I believe that if I met his partner, he would say, Greg, I don't think these things of Mike. I actually think you're quite in shape. I mean, you're 48. I don't see many people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that are 10 times in better shape than you. 10 times, 10x. It's a lot. Think of it, on the earthquake scale, 10 times more vibrations, more destruction. It's a lot. And so, he's like, I don't have words. He's lost for words. He doesn't know how to respond to this. He can't believe Mike O'Hearn just said what he said. But yet he said it.
Although there doesn't seem to be an end to this beef, the next beef had a definitive end and involved a legendary bodybuilder who was known for his erratic nature. Lee Priest is one of the greatest bodybuilders to have ever competed and is one of the most entertaining when you include his offstage antics. Iron Historian has made a full documentary on him if you're interested in watching and learning more. But essentially, he's had a rough upbringing and has made a lot of questionable life decisions. In 2020 though, a fan reached out to Lee to get his thoughts on Coach Greg and wanted to know what Lee thought about Greg and not agreeing with his dirty bulking style. Instead of just ignoring or respectfully disagreeing, Lee went on to completely trash talk Greg and his style, even calling him a nobody.
All right, this is what he says. Okay, and what's he done again? What's his contest history, etc. from age 13 to 48? Winning pro shows, etc. Yeah, I don't know anything. That's why all who did what I did win shows were most ripped, etc. And who is he again?
Greg's point that he made about Lee was that dirty bulking only worked so well for him because of his genetics and the fact that he was a freak of nature. If he'd bulked in a sustainable way like Coach Greg preaches, he could have potentially put on a lot more muscle. Lee's insults on Greg get worse, and after the fan lists all of Greg's accomplishments to Lee, he inadvertently proves Greg's point again.
So then Lee Priest responds with, I just Googled him. Please don't bother me with idiots like that. Jesus, my mother looked better. His mom did look better. His mom's a freak too. His mom looked better than me. His mom's amazing. Genetics. He proves my point even more. Even his mom looked better than me. It's genetics, folks. His mom, freak genetics, passed it off. He chose the right parents.
Lee went on to Dave Palumbo's channel to talk about the backlash he received, and everyone in the comments section seemed to be saying the same thing. Greg never said one negative thing about Lee Priest though, he was simply stating his opinion. He actually complimented Lee several times. Lee took it way too personal. Greg never insulted Lee and still has the utmost respect for him. Why does providing an alternate method of building muscle instigate a beef? And the final influencer beef we are looking at is none other than Alex Eubank, who's had a pretty massive downfall in recent months, but Greg has had a lot of choice words for Alex after he revealed he was going to start taking gear. Alex Eubank was once the golden boy of the online fitness world. With his Greek god aesthetics and squeaky clean Christian image, he has won fans over and gained millions of followers in a short period of time. However, through accusations of editing his photos, abusing psalms when he was younger, and losing the authenticity in his personality, his audience began to drop off and look for newer influencers to follow. This is all covered in my downfall of Alex Eubank video, which is now over a year old, and Greg also features in this. But there's a lot more recent controversy that he's guilty of, and that is abusing steroids and hanging around with Togi too much. On October 18th, 2024, Alex uploaded a video in which he declares he is starting TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy, due to his chronically low testosterone. However, the dose he was taking was suspicious to say the least, and Greg had us covered on the explanation.
I don't feel that 200 milligrams a week for Alex Eubank is actually HRT. If you're actually on replacement, you don't gain 12 pounds of muscle in 5 weeks.
But Greg may know the real reason that Alex has hopped on gear and started gambling, straying away from his Christian morals, and that comes in the form of Togi, who Greg has been totally outspoken about.
Not only is he on steroids, remember it's HRT prescribed by a doctor, but testosterone is a steroid. He's on steroids, and it's not just testosterone, he's also on HCG, and who knows what else he's going to take, and he's also gambling. Who in this world does it sound like influence to do this? And so last I checked, who's a better influence? Alex Eubank meets Coach Greg, says, hey, I'm considering doing HRT. I said, don't do it, stay natural. 2 years go by, he's still natural. But 2 months after meeting Togi, bro is on more HRT than he needs, and in 20 minutes they're giving him 200 milligrams of testosterone, and he's on a gambling stream. He's live streaming gambling of all things. Alex is, or perhaps I should say was, a Christian man. Does this seem Christian-like to you?
And if you want to know how deep the beef between Greg Doucette and Togi, the biggest degenerate in the world, goes, click the video that's on your screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.